Hello, welcome to Cinema Savvy. We are back with another film review as we're gearing up towards the 93rd Academy Awards. And today's review is going to be on Minari, which is the drama film directed by Lee Isaac Chung and a bunch of people who I'm not going to try and pronounce their names because I'm probably going to offend someone. This is another one, ticket off the list. We're slowly working our way through all of these films. We still have a lot of films to watch, and I'm going to pass over to George in a second with the socials when you can expect some of those reviews. We're getting through them, but this has been nominated for 6, I believe. So this is one of definitely the big hitters this year. To name but a few of the categories, actually, I think I could probably name them all. It's been nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actress, and then I believe it's Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Original Score as well. So this is definitely one of the strongest contenders this year, and I'm glad that we got to this one, and we're here to talk about it. I don't know how spoiler focused this is going to be. I think overall this is going to be sort of like a general open discussion. But if we do get into like any specifics or anything like that, we'll be sure to let you know so that we don't give anything away. But before we do, over to George with the socials.
Absolutely, guys. So this film is out here in the United Kingdom. You can get it on PVOD. Another film that they decided to delay to then put online for us to watch because they thought the cinemas would be open, which is stupid. So do comment if you've seen it. Obviously, as Chris said, we won't do spoilers, but if we do it, we'll give you a pre-warning of us saying anything. But if you like this video, if you're a fan of the Oscars, we've got a lot of stuff happening. The next one will be News of the World, which is a fair few nominations. We've got a couple of big releases coming next week as well. But if you want to find out some of those videos, when they're going to go up, what they are, get us on our social medias, which is Facebook at Cinema Savvy, Twitter at cinema_savvy, letterboxd.com/Cinema Savvy. We have a list on there that has all of the Oscar films that we've had on the channel. And we've got links below to the TeePublic store and also our Oscar predictions giveaway. You need to email into us your Oscar predictions for this year. On the night we do our annual Oscar live stream, we will count them up and the winner will get a £15 Rakuten voucher. So do submit those. The details in the description. It's going to be a fun one. It's always a little bit competitive between us this year, and there's a lot of awards that are very open for anyone to win. So it's going to be very interesting. And a film that's thrown a spanner in the work for me is Minari, which is a film I knew next to nothing about, except the fact this is a semi-autobiographical film by Lee Isaac Chung based on his upbringing in America. And, you know, normally sort of me jumping in trailer, I hadn't seen any trailers. I tend to keep away from trailers in Oscar films, and what I hated was the BAFTAs. We're pre-recording this a day early, but the BAFTAs were last night. And it's when they start playing clips of films you've not seen, it's like, I really need to speed up. Different conversation is when they play clips from films that you legally can't watch in the country. It's like, oh, The Father, out in June in cinemas. Oh, No Man Land, April 30th. You know, things like that really pushed me the wrong way. And I was like, okay, Minari, you're next. Because that great little scene. But I saw a lot of hype online for this. So I don't really know what to expect heading into it. I'm glad you watched it a couple hours before me, but I didn't have the faintest clue what it was about, except that very basic stuff. Didn't know about the farming, didn't know about anything, and I was just really hesitant, vague opening thought. I was really blown away. I had an absolute great time watching this.
Yeah, no, I thought this was a really charming film, actually. I don't know if it's one that I'd rush back to anytime soon, but I think there's a lot of fun to be had with this, with some of the performances and some of the dynamics. 2 actors in particular, which we'll definitely talk about later on in the discussion. The plot for this thing, I'm actually not going to read the plot synopsis from IMDb for this one because it's awful. I'm going to read the one off Wikipedia. So the plot follows a family of South Korean immigrants who try to make a life for themselves in the rural United States in the 1980s. So I was aware of the concept from various clips, such as the BAFTAs and other things in the lead up. You know, being surrounded by film stuff in the lead up to Oscars, you're going to just sort of pick up on what a lot of these films are about. And I like films like this as well. And this is one of the things that I love about Oscar season, is that you get a lot of these films that are these smaller, self-contained personal stories. And as you mentioned, like, it is a semi-autobiographical film as well. So clearly the director was putting a lot of his, maybe it's not all 100% true, but the same sensibilities and the same themes and dynamics that he probably went through in his life. And I mean, we've got a little plan here as well, but I think one of the biggest things, one of the strengths of this film is its performances and its family dynamic. You stay with that family and it's like all eyes on that family kind of thing. And you can see just how all the different dynamics between them, which I find fascinating. You've got a marriage that's kind of on the rocks and, you know, marital tensions. You've got the in-laws moving in. So you've got some comedy along with that. You've got sort of crisis of identity, where you've got the children who are sort of pulled apart between two worlds and their Korean heritage, but also trying to integrate into US lifestyle as well. And all this, like this melting pot of all these different ideas and sensibilities in the film, and I think it comes together really well, and it's a really nice, charming story. Everything that's set up has a payoff. We'll talk about it as we go into it. It's a very difficult film to talk about in many ways, and I don't know why, but I think definitely performance-wise, there are certainly some standouts in this. Namely, the little kid. I've forgotten his name already, but all the clips that you see of him, you know, in the lead up to Oscar season, it's always the same clips, but he steals this film for me. He's instantly likable, and he gets all the greatest laughs in the film, and he's just a really charming young actor. He's just great.
Yeah, it's Alan Kim he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor at the BAFTAs, and very rarely do you. I don't know if he's the youngest ever BAFTA nominee. I could be wrong, but you know, every sort of 10 years maybe you get like a teenager, and it's this big hurrah. And I was like, 8-year-old kid, and I was like, okay. I was like, I'm interested in. You know, the age where you see a lot of people. You get at the BAFTAs yesterday on the Skype camera, he had like a full like suit and everything, and it was really cute and stuff. And when I was watching this film, I had so much fun with his character, and I know very much that is who obviously the director was growing up. That is clearly meant to be him when he was younger, and whether how accurate it is obviously for the director's interpretation of that. But I love the fact that as he's not, to me, he's the protagonist. I know he's a supporter, and I know that in theory it should really be Stephen Yeun, but when you know it's the semi-autobiographical from the director and you following this kid, because at the start of the film, I was really not that something wasn't clicking, but you know, you're still sort of following these characters, learning bits about them. And I think the moment they bring the grandmother called Sunja Yun, I can't pronounce his name. Yun Ye-jung plays her. She won the BAFTA. It's not really spoiler saying that, but the moment she comes into it, the film completely changes. And then suddenly, obviously, the drama's moving forward, the development of these characters and where they are in their lifetimes, I think is really important. But David in it is just phenomenal. And it's not the fact he's a cute kid. You know, you don't just nominate people, say they're good because they're cute, but when he needs to have lines, like he's so innocent. And I think that's what is so well written about him, that he's discovering these things for the first time, and you get some great scenes with him when he's trying to discover stuff. And you got to think about the mindset of like an 8-year-old kid. You know, it always there's a scene in this film. I'm not going to say it, but it reminds me of The Godfather in the Garden with Don Corleone and his son. And it's not a spoiler. Obviously, that doesn't happen. But it's the innocence of having the kids around him that makes that scene what it is to me. And I think there's something vaguely similar in this. And I was going back to that film, like, you know, this time the main actor is the kid, not the grandparent, and not taking away from the actor. The grandparent is phenomenal, but I think the whole film is on David in this, and I really enjoy it. I'm the same. I don't know if I jump back to it, but for a character piece, you know, there are 4 members of the family. We've got a couple of supporting characters, but they are all very likable. And even the weird ones, there's Will Patton plays a character called Paul, a very religious person. You know, when he comes into, I don't know if this is because I've watched so many superhero films recently. I was like, is this going to be like, well, I guess it's current as well. Is this going to be like some dude that just like hates Asian people? Not to get on obviously current politics, but the way he's set up as this sort of nutcase neighbor, I was like, I don't know anything about this one. I don't know what's going to head, but they don't even try that with him. That he's kind of likable in that sense that he's not. You know, he's not been brought in as a threat, as an antagonist or anything. He's just a member of the film. And I even like those kinds of, I think as an ensemble, it works really well. And I think as you said the word charming at it, I think that's where I sit with it, that, you know, I don't dislike anybody I've seen in this. I kind of like all of them, and they're all charming in their own little way.
Yeah, it's a good slice of life movie, and I think with David's character, he is very much the heart and soul of the entire film. And I think you're right. I think that it's not all from his eyes. Like, it does cut to the other family members. It does cut away from him at some points, and every single member of the family gets their time in the spotlight. You can understand where each member of the family is coming from in terms of what they want to achieve. You've got like a great father and son story in there as well, with I'm going to bring up the actor's name. He's in The Walking Dead. Stephen Yeun. This is the only thing that I've seen him act outside of The Walking Dead, and I never stayed with all of The Walking Dead. I know that he played Glenn in that. But he's great in this. I don't know if he's the best actor in there, but he's good with what he's given. But you get the sense of, you know, his upbringing. He had to go through many struggles. He mentions he had to work this like very mundane manual labor job for 10 years in order to try and get a good life for himself. And as the film progresses, and I think this is where the wife comes in, she's saying, well, you need to do this for your son and his future because you've got a child. You need to be thinking of him and prioritizing him. But as the film goes on, you kind of understand that he's kind of in it for himself. He says that he wants to do this to prove to his son that his dad can achieve something. But I think it kind of becomes more than that. And it becomes more of a selfish, like, this, I'm doing this for me. And I think that's definitely one of the biggest themes as the film goes on, is he doing this for the right reasons? You know, they've come to this country to make a life for themselves as a family, but these, you know, the family thread kind of starts to unravel a little bit towards the end where the drama kicks in. And then the grandma's thrown in as the wild card of the bunch as well. And there's, I think she really keeps the whole thing together. In fact, like, without giving anything away, we'll probably talk about the end of this film, where it leads to. Her actions and her presence in the film is essential in order to keep this family together. You know, they're all kind of against it at first, you know, the dad especially, and the son as well, who takes a long time to warm up to the grandma. And I think that they're into play. Definitely the two of them are easily the two strongest actors in this film. And I wanted more scenes from them. Every time we got a scene with them together, playing pranks on each other, saying, you don't act like a grandma, a very specific criteria and list of things that grandmas are meant to be and meant to do. And she's not any of those. She's, you know, she feels young, she's adventurous, she's a law unto herself, basically. She does whatever she wants. So that stuff I thought was the strongest part of the film, easily. And saying it's the strongest part of the film, that's kind of the whole film, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's the thing, that it's sort of looking back now, obviously we're very fresh out of it as well, so it's not really time to settle, but I've just got this feeling with it that I'd like to have seen more, because that's always a good takeaway from a film, but I think it tells the story it needs to tell. I don't think it needed more minutes. I think that there's dramatic beats in there as well, where you get a kind of finale I thought was going to go another way. Again, that's down to watching many other types of genre recently and realizing that fires don't mean stuff's going to happen all the time. And there's character moments, and I think where the film chooses to finish sort of fits quite well, where these characters have picked and chosen what is important to them and what really is this film. And even though that Minari was a sort of plant until this film, I thought it was just the name of the film. But I think you are right that a lot of it comes down to the nan, and the beauty of it is they big her up. That, you know, they mentioned sort of the history, because obviously this isn't modern day. This is very much, I'm going to assume, 1970s. I want to say
1980s. It says in
1980s.
Yeah.
Perfect. And I think they mention a lot about the Korean War, which is really good contextually. That there's some great lines where she speaks about, you know, the father went to war and didn't come back, and that's why she's an only child. And I think immediately from knowing that, and that's kind of spoiler, but you know that the grandma's not going to be a very stereotypical. And I love the fact they build off that, and it's going back to knowing this is semi-autobiographical, that he did have a grandmother that was like that was different to everyone else. And once, you know, I've got you a present, and it's like a pack of cards. And I think there's an amazing line where it's like, start you early to beat the bastards. And I love that, because it's so funny and it's so true as well. And I just love that stuff. And the fact that, you know, she didn't just come in and doing like a Nanny McPhee and they're all BFF straight away, or like Mary Poppins. This was the complete opposite, that he had wanted nothing to do with her. And then you see the development of it. I think that's what stuck with me, that it feels like character pieces where characters, you know, they not evolve, I hate using that word, but the characters, you know, they have character arcs, they become fulfilled, there is drama in there. But I think because there's so much charm, I think it leaves you in a really nice spot, that when there are a couple of dramatic moments, they might not hit as hard as they're meant to do. However, it's because you're sort of with the innocence of the youth in it, that you're sort of having a different perspective with them. I think that's where it left it strong for me, that sort of, I don't know if I've got too much else to say, it's really weird, but it is one of those where I think you have to look at this as a character study. And this happens all the time at Oscar season, we do say stuff, but this one is something I've come over and I'd like to see more from the director. That me and you say every year, we will get a better, we promise. Lee Isaac Chung, I'd like to see some of his other films now that I've not seen any, and knowing that this was like sort of semi-autobiographical for him, I really want to know what else he's done or what his future projects are, because there's a really good way to tell a story. And I think sort of final point I'm making the director is that it would have been very easy for somebody to paint this perfect picture of themselves. I think we did the Hillbilly Elegy review the other day, and the character that wasn't interesting was the lead, and it's his own memoirs. And we've had someone actually do some comments about that, which was really fascinating. And none of us liked him because he was this sort of self-savior character that he saved the day all the time. It was that very boring, of course, you, the book author, wrote this about you, how you saved your family and you became this, whereas this is just a director, this is probably a part of my childhood I remember, and I'm just going to write about some of it. And it's not painting himself as this great kid. He's not, lovely 24/7. There's these moments, and I think that's where sort of the film hits me, that it's not trying to paint a perfect picture of his life. It's just trying to show us some of the stuff that him and his family had gone through.
Yeah, I think it's just trying to show life, essentially, isn't it? And I mean, I can connect with this movie because, I like seeing these characters and this, family together trying to make it. But I think that this is, for anyone who's, like an immigrant or anything, I think this is, no matter what nationality you are, I think this is definitely going to be a film to connect with. And I think it portrays a very accurate depiction of that, coming to, a brand new country, and the sheer hard work and toil and hard graft that it would take to try and get something set up, and essentially working from the ground up. Literally, they start in a trailer that's insanely high off the ground, it's towards the beginning of the film, which was really funny, and then just an empty plot of land and trying to build that up and make the. And I think it's a really good message to people. I like the subtle cultural aspects they bring into the film as well, and again showing that difference of that these kids have sort of for most of their lives been sort of brought up around in America, in Arkansas, in American schools, and you've got the grandma coming over bringing loads of Korean food ingredients and making Korean dishes, and the kids are having none of it. And there's scenes where they're watching like an old like Korean song on the TV, and the grandma's reminiscing, saying that, oh, you guys used to love this song, this was like a really romantic song for both of you. And in that moment as well, it's subtle because you just see how they're just not engaging in conversation at the dinner table, that the father and the mother, that how out of love they've fallen apart. But it's all moments like that where he does bring that Korean culture into it, and it very cleverly shows that clash between it. Even things where they're saying, we're off to church. And, Arkansas in the deep south, I think it's in the deep south, isn't it? I don't know my US geography. I know it's in the south somewhere. Very, very God-fearing group of people, very, very religious. And it's kind of expected of you. And you get the impression that they're going there almost to fit in, but the religion aspect is there as well. There's loads of these little subtle things. And the more you think about it, the more they add up. And I think that before we did this review, I said that I don't think, I may have even said this in the beginning, actually, that I don't think this would be a film that I'd go back and watch again. But now talking about it and all the subtleties and how everything comes together, it's a very, very tightly written screenplay as well. There's a great sort of running, I don't know if it's a theme, it's not really a theme, a character trait, I suppose, with David's character, where I want to say it's arrhythmia. I don't know, but he's got some kind of like hole in his heart that's getting worse. It's this condition he's got where he can't do, strenuous exercise. He can't get his heart rate up too much because, he could die. And his mother's holding him back, saying, oh, you've got to walk slow, don't run. And she kind of mollycoddles him a little bit, and then the grandma comes in, and then by the end of it he's running after the grandma. I love that image, and I love that sort of story arc that plot line had, and that's one plot line. But the more I think about it, all of these characters have a plot line. The fact that again, like the culture of the meals they share together. You have a scene where they bring Will Patton's character over and they all share a meal together and bring him into the family almost. I'm rambling at this point, but there's so much. Yeah, there's so much to dissect in this film. I kind of love this movie now I'm talking about it.
Yeah, it's one of them where I think, not to get into bring boring back to Oscars, actually, before I get into the Oscars, I will say the mother and father stuff as well hit me, because one of them is very much the dreamer, the other the realist, and it's such an easy concept, but they handle it far better than I think most films do. They don't over dramatize it; they have it in a very realist manner. And
it's even after he gets a success as well. Like he achieves something, but even that's not good enough. And she says, I don't think it's going to last. And you're kind of with her in that moment as well, seeing everything he's gone through at that point.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's this great difference, and for those kids as well that have to witness it as well, you'd imagine it shaping them. But the more I've spoken about this, granted, I've still not seen Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, and Sound of Metal, which obviously we'll get over the next couple of weeks. I will bet my money. I don't know if it will happen. Nomadland is the favourite.
I know what you're going to say.
If anything's going to nab best film, it's going to be this, I think, because I think this is a fascinating film. And what I will add to actually something you were saying, that this film isn't nominated for best foreign film. For those that don't know, this was excluded from the category, albeit it's sort of probably 95% in Korean. It's funded by Americans. It's an American production company. It's an American film. Therefore, it couldn't be submitted because the Oscars are now Best International Feature. Whereas for the BAFTAs, I think it's just film in a foreign language, which I think the Oscars should have stuck as. And at least it would have been this versus another round for one point of view. But I could see this nabbing best film. If anything's going to do it, I'm putting all my money on this.
Yeah, and now I come to think of it, and I did have that in mind actually when I was watching this film, thinking that I probably predicted the wrong films to win, didn't I, as my first choice and second choice. I could see this taking it. I always believe that you have your bookie's favourite of which one's going to win, and sometimes that happens, but law of average, there's always like an outlier, and I reckon this could be it. Absolutely. I don't have much else to say. I was just kind of thinking of one little bit, which might be a spoiler. It's at the very end of the film. So if you haven't seen it, obviously go watch the film and then come back to this. The scene with the fire, which is sort of like the big climactic moment. It's done by accident by the grandma, but it's like everything happens for a reason. And I think, well, that moment shows just how important the family is over what they've done. But this might be me reading way too much into it. Which I'm very guilty of at some points, but I know at the beginning of the film, he picked that place because he said there's good earth here. There's like good soil, the quality of the soil. And I was thinking like, well, with fire, it's like after a raging fire, it's like more fertile soil, isn't it? With something can grow from it. So I don't know if that's like a theme or like subtext as well. You could say that they've had this devastating fire, but from this, they can all grow together. But you get the sense at the end of the film that, yes, they did sort of like save each other, but it's still a very uneasy future. Like, I think that describes the future. You never know where it's going to go. The next day they could be back to arguing. The next day, they could be all happy families or moving. And I don't know. I thought it, and the final image of the film as well, tying it back into the title, I thought that was a really nice, beautiful final shot. Uncertain future, but I think with a film like this, you kind of need that at the end. But even though it's uncertain, it's still kind of happy in a way. It is a happy ending, ultimately, I think.
What I wanted to add about the fire is that, not that it's a typical trait, but for so many Oscar films, you'll have a out of nowhere big moment and this randomly changed stuff. And I was reading what I want to check. This was a real life event. The specifics aren't confirmed, but in theory, I think the director said that his nan did accidentally set the barn on fire and did burn it down. And obviously, I'm sure maybe some of it, because it is, as much as it's based off some real life stuff, it was also very written to be a film. And I was worried for a split second they'd start killing off people. Maybe that's just because I've seen too many violent films recently, but this isn't the kind of film where I think that would have worked, just because it's been very much the decisive moment that, you pick the barn or you pick your family and the wife comes and helps him in the barn, and you get those great sort of story moments that all reflect that. I did miss something. I thought the nan and daughter had ran in because I just didn't see them for ages, and the scene of the little kid running after them, stopping them down the street was I think as far as the climax goes, it was a really lovely scene, and I think that was a great sort of story perspective to then end it on, having a sort of two scene set after, I thought was the perfect way for it to go. And I kind of said I don't think I'll see it again. I probably actually will see this again because I really enjoyed it. I feel like a bastard now. I said that 20 minutes ago, but no, this is stuck with me, and I think, if you haven't seen it, sort of my final thoughts, go and watch this film. I think it's really enjoyable. I think if you don't like it, you don't have a soul, and I'm willing to put that on record because it is phenomenal performances. It's an investing character piece, and I think there's a lot of everyone's reality hidden in the film too.
Yeah, and don't let the subtitles put you off. It is is it a foreign language movie? It's this weird outlier where it's kind of in between, but there's English in it as well. But I know that sometimes I've never been guilty of this, but I know that some people have. A subtitle movie does command your attention. You can't just sort of have it on in the background. You have got to watch it and pay attention to what's being said. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed this film. It's a good slice of life movie. All of the all of the combinations, everything that's in the movie, all of the relationships between the individual family members is great. And obviously the kid, I'm going to bring his name up. So I know Alan Kim, outstanding. Easily my favorite thing in there. The grandma too, but easily he's the walk away thing. It's just a really nice, charming film, and I had good fun with it. Doesn't feel like it's mean spirited in any way, but it is showing the hardships of what it would be like for immigrants coming into the country and sort of like building a life for themselves. So it doesn't shy away from any of those things at all. It brings in the culture as well. It's just a complete package of a film, really, and I had a really good time with it. So that'll do it for our opinions on Minari, and we want to hear your guys' thoughts on Minari if you've seen it. Let us know what you thought of the film, and be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe as well, and let us know your predictions, how you think it's going to do in the Oscars. Obviously, also send in your Oscars giveaway. We'll probably mention that in a second as well. We're going to be continuing our Oscar film reviews as we go on, whether it's been nominated for a lot of awards or just a few. We're going to try and get as many of these out as we can. And I know how pushed for time we are with these things. Like, what is it, the 26th? A lot of films still to get watched. We're going to do it. But if obviously you're watching this, you're clearly following the Oscars, you like, Oscar films. We do talk about some other things as well. And I'm trying to think when this is going to go up. We have a few more weeks left on our Friday reviews. We'll be back this Friday as well at 8 p.m. GMT. I'm not going to bring up that. I'm going to bring up that. There we go. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Spoiler discussions every Friday at 8 p.m. We're at the midway point now. I think actually a trailer came out today as of recording this to sort of tee up. I haven't watched it. I don't want to know what's going to happen, but we'll be back there with that. I'm going to pass over to George now because we recorded Endgame this weekend, just gone, as of this recording. I don't know which one we're up to. I think Infinity War's gone up tonight, hasn't it? I think I caught a bit of that, but let the people know where we're up to, what they can expect from Marvel.
Absolutely, guys. The Infinity Saga retrospective is almost at an end. Of course, Infinity War came out yesterday, and coming up tomorrow, and this is up with Ant-Man and the Wasp. We're very much in that gap between it, and it's almost over. But every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, 8 p.m., there's a new upload. However, it will be finishing next week, which is really scary to say because it feels like a lot further away. But this is actually going to finish on the Oscar weekend, as we don't end it with Far From Home now. We'll be doing a definitive top 10 Infinity Saga list, whatever you want to call it, whatever it is. When I say definitive, the 9-10 people that have been on these videos who have put a lot of time into this as well, who've helped tremendously, we have a definitive list where I'm collating everybody's top 10s together via a very fair point system, and everyone's submitting videos for people we couldn't get in some of my more recent videos. So do check that out. That's going to be on Saturday the 24th of, I was going to say October. What the hell am I on about? It's April. I don't know how on earth that date's come up, but Saturday the 24th, that will go up. Couple more videos until then, but as Chris said, lots of Oscar films on the way. Next up, News of the World starring Tom Hanks, because it's not an Oscar season if Tom Hanks isn't saving the day in some decade animation style or drama to a point. So we've got a lot of Tom Hanks to talk about, but of course the big ones, I think the bigger ones next week, this week, Promising Young Woman, Nomadland, and Sound of Metal. They're the final 3 best film nominees. We haven't spoken about. We'll have them out. We've got other ones planned as well, and if we can shoehorn in some more, we've got a lot of films to watch. We've got a lot of things coming up on the channel, so do stick with us for that. I'm very excited to watch that. It's been a very interesting Oscar season. I think now I've finished watching 23 Marvel films, I'm fully embracing the Oscar side of me, just because I know that it's gone from watching films about institutional racism to then finishing that, taking it, and then it's like, okay, now here's a Marvel film about nonsense for 2 hours, and it's been very jarring in my head. But now it's just Oscar films. The mindset is ready, so I'm very excited to watch the last couple of ones. And yeah, that's an extended Marvel plug.
Sticking with Oscars that you just mentioned there, once again, bigging this up because we do want to get as many people involved in this as possible. Oscar predictions giveaway. All the information is in the description down below. But just to paraphrase, there is a downloadable spreadsheet on there. Just get your first and second choice predictions for each of the categories of the Academy Awards. We're going to be collating that on the night of the Oscars. We like to make it competitive, and whoever gets the most right out of the people that send it in will win a £15 Rakuten voucher. You've got to be in it to win it, so please do get that sent in to us. And once again, really quickly over the socials, we have loads of videos coming out, loads of reviews. We don't even know when half of them are coming out. So follow us on Facebook, Cinema Savvy, Twitter at cinema_savvy. If you want to see like a running ticked off list of all the things that we've been reviewing, Letterboxd is the place to find us. That's once again Cinema Savvy, and also the link to the TeePublic in the description down below where you can pick up some t-shirts. That'll do it from us. We've talked you all to death of what we've got coming up. So thank you to everyone who's watched our review, and until the next video, we'll see you guys next time.